When the seed of Abraham left Egypt to enter into the land of Canaan, God set up a system that was to symbolically represent the entire plan of salvation, and He required of them different materials from within the animal, vegetable, and mineral world. From the minerals, He wanted different colored precious stones for the breastplate of judgment and for the Urim and the Thummim, silver, brass, and gold for the altar, the candlestick, and for the ark of the covenant, fine linen that was to use for the veil, and that was to be dyed blue, purple, and red. From the vegetable kingdom, wood that was the foundation of the temple and for all of the different instruments. The olive plant that was grounded and was turned into oil to anoint the tabernacle and to anoint both the priests and the kings, and to also give light to the candlestick, and distinct flavored spices that was to be grounded and to be made into sweet smelling incense that symbolically represented the praise. The animals were central to that system, for not only were their hair and skins to be used, but their bodies were sacrificed as a substitute for the repentant sinner, the just for the unjust. But there was one feast that decided their fate, that also symbolically represented the Day of Judgment. It was called in Hebrew Yom Kippur, in English the Day of Atonement. And among their flock, many innocent animals were sacrificed to atone for sins. There were two that were very distinct. One of the kids of the goats was sacrificed and symbolically represented the future sacrifice of the Lamb of God. But the other goat's life was spared. What was it? In London's Embankment Gardens is a statue of an Oxford-educated scholar that is looking at the river that secretly smuggled in his Bibles in the 16th century, the River Thames. His name was William Tyndale, and he was skilled in 7 languages fluently, and he introduced a brand new word into the English language that was first mentioned in the Bible in Leviticus chapter 16 and verse 8. The Northern European word highlighted in blue that he introduced to the English language when he translated the Bible from the language of the East to the language of the West is the word scapegoat, an English translation of the Afro-Asiatic Hebrew word Azazel. But who or what is Azazel? Let's see what the world says.
Fallen. Detective John Hobbs wants to uncover the truth.
What does Azazel mean? Now, my dictionary says that evil spirit of the wilderness.
Walk away, Mr. Hobbs. There are angels. Some of these angels were cast down, and a few of the fallen were punished by being deprived of form.
Come on, get out of here. Stop! Azazel.
Azazel ゴリゴリの統率者であり
何？アザゼル！
In the Western arts, he is identified as Satan. For this American black metal band's album, the group The Cult of Azazel has on the left, where they show, guess what? The scapegoat. And from entertainment to theology, in the 17th century, Paradise Lost, a poem by the English statesman John Milton, in Book 1 he identifies Azazel as the anointed cherub in Ezekiel chapter 28 and verses 14 and 16. And in the following 2 centuries, Ernst Wilhelm Theodor Hermann Hengstenberg, the 19th century German Lutheran theologian, Hermann Witsius, the Dutch theologian, Calvin Ellis Stowe, the 19th century American biblical scholar, John Spencer, the 17th century Cambridge-educated English clergyman and Hebrew scholar, Heinrich Friedrich Wilhelm Gesenius, the German lexicographer, and Charles Beecher, the 19th century American Presbyterian minister and hymn writer. All of them taught that Azazel was a symbolic representation of Satan, who is going to be destroyed forever by God on the day of judgment. Were all of these men correct in their interpretation of typology?